Mohandas Gandhi. You know the name. You can probably picture him right now. The glasses, the loincloth, the spinning wheel. But behind that global icon of peace, there was a man, a really complex man. And this is the story of how he took on an entire empire, not with an army, but with an idea. When the news of his assassination broke back in 1948, the whole world just mourned. There's this story about a kitchen in New York where a young girl, a maid and a gardener, just stopped what they were doing and held a little prayer meeting. They were weeping for a man they'd never even met. And that tiny personal moment, it was happening in millions of homes all over the planet. It felt like a personal loss. And that really gets you thinking, right? How does one person from halfway across the world inspire that kind of deep personal connection with so many people? To get a handle on the Mahatma, the great soul, we've got to start by understanding Mohandas, the man. And the transformation is just staggering. The young Gandhi said it himself, that his own intellect was sluggish. He was a shy, kind of mediocre law student. So how on earth does that person become the Mahatma, the figure who could literally move a nation of millions? Well, that change didn't start in India. It actually started in South Africa. So first he goes to London, and he's trying his best to fit in, aping the English gentleman. But then he gets to South Africa, and for the first time, he's thrown off a train just for being a person of color. That moment, that humiliation, it lit a fire. South Africa basically became his lab, where he started hammering out this new way of fighting back. He even took a vow of chastity in 1906, just to dedicate his entire being to serving the public. But here's the thing, he didn't just pull these ideas out of thin air. He was a huge reader, and he started blending ideas from the East and the West. From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, he got this powerful idea that you have to act. From an English writer, John Ruskin, he fell in love with the idea of a simple life and the dignity of working with your hands. And from the famous Russian novelist, Leo Tolstoy, he found this confirmation of his deepest belief in nonviolence. He took all of this and synthesized it into a weapon for change. And it all came together in one central concept, satyagraha. It literally means truth force. Now, don't mistake this for just passive resistance. It was anything but. It was an active, super disciplined strategy. And the goal wasn't to crush your opponent. It was to awaken their conscience, to make them see the truth of what they were doing. It was this kind of moral weapon. And really, the world had never seen anything quite like it. And this was incredibly strategic. It wasn't just showing up and protesting. There was a playbook. You'd start with negotiation, try every peaceful option. Then you'd prepare people, training them for nonviolence. Then came the agitation, the marches and protests. You'd issue a clear ultimatum. And only then, only after all that, would you move to civil disobedience. But that last step, that was the key. Willingly accepting the punishment without fighting back. That act of taking the suffering on yourself, that was the truth force in action. It was designed to shame the oppressor and rally everybody else to your side. So this whole philosophy, it needed a big stage, right? A single, powerful act that the whole world could see and understand. And it all kind of boiled down to this one number, 240. 240 miles. That's how far Gandhi and his followers marched to the sea in 1930. See, the British controlled all the salt, and they taxed it, a basic necessity of life. So Gandhi just walked to the ocean to make his own. It was such a simple act, but it was a massive statement. It was satyagraha on an epic scale, and it completely electrified India and grabbed the world's attention. But here's something that's so important to understand. His fight wasn't just against the British. He believed that India could never, ever be truly free as long as it was chained by its own internal demons, the brutal caste system and the growing toxic division between Hindus and Muslims. He fought for the rights of the so-called untouchables with every ounce of his being. He even went on a fast unto death in 1932 to stop a British plan that he felt would permanently divide them from the rest of Hindu society. For Gandhi, you see, freeing India meant freeing all Indians. You couldn't free the nation from the outside until you freed its soul from the inside. And then, in August 1947, it happened. After all those decades of struggle, the jail time, the marches, the fasts, the moment was finally here. The British Empire lowered its flag. India was independent. It really seemed like his entire life's work had reached this incredible, triumphant peak. But this unbelievable triumph was also a heartbreaking tragedy. Because as the British left, they partitioned the subcontinent. India was free, sure, but it was split into two countries, creating the new nation of Pakistan. The dream of a united, independent India was just shattered. The result was a complete bloodbath. As millions of Hindus and Muslims suddenly found themselves on the wrong side of a new border, this horrific communal violence just exploded. These early British numbers here, they show thousands of deaths, but they don't even begin to tell the real story. In the end, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, were killed. For the man who preached nonviolence his entire life, this was an absolute catastrophe. I mean, can you even imagine? For Gandhi, this was an unimaginable personal failure. At the very second of his greatest political victory, his deepest spiritual dream of a peaceful, united India was just lying in ruins all around him. He spent his last few months just walking through villages torn apart by riots, trying to stop the hate, trying to start healing. And in the end, the very hatred he fought so hard to stop, it came for him. On his way to a prayer meeting, he was shot and killed. The assassin was a Hindu extremist who thought Gandhi was too tolerant, too protective of Muslims. The apostle of nonviolence died a violent death. Gandhi famously said, "My life is my message." So after looking at this whole journey, from this mediocre student to the Mahatma, his strategic brilliance, and that final tragic victory, what is that message? What can his struggle for truth and unity in a world torn apart by division, what can it teach us right here, right now? That, maybe, is the question he left for all of us to answer.